So first things first, James, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm alright, thanks.
Nice.
So before we get into the new album titled You,
Yeah.
I'd like to jump back a little bit. Now, I read somewhere that you started writing songs when you were 15. Before that time, what role did music play for you?
I think I started to compose songs when I was 15, like with a guitar, you know. And I had a guitar and I was learning and I was putting songs together with music. But I think writing lyrics and coming up with melodies was something I did from for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Well, what role music played very early on in your life before you kind of creatively tried to get it out?
Well, music played a huge role in my childhood. I didn't have the best start in life. There was a lot of kind of stuff that I'd seen that I shouldn't have seen, and it was, you know, there was some traumatic stuff that I went through when I was a kid, and I remember music being, you know, a sanctuary, if you like. It was my mum would play music in the kitchen when I was very young, and I would sing along. And my mum gave me huge confidence because I would sing along to these Michael Jackson songs or Prince or whatever it might be that she was playing. She played quite an eclectic bunch of music, and when I would sing along, she would say, "Wow, you're the best singer in the world. Like, you're going to be a huge star." And I was like, "Oh, wow, amazing." And so I really looked for validation from my mum from a young age, which made me a little bit obsessed with music, I think. Especially when things weren't going so well and maybe I wasn't on the right side of my mum. That's how I would try and get the attention. So I think I was really invested in it from a young age. And it played a huge role because it helped me sort of channel all of that hyperactive, nervous energy that I had as a kid due to all the noise that was going on around me. So yeah, and it's continued to be that for me. It's continued to be the thing that's tuned all of the kind of stressful stuff out.
Exactly, because and then up till, like you say, up till now, what is it like being able to, whatever you're going through, or to get those thoughts out and put them onto paper and kind of make sense of it, or be creative with it?
What does it mean to me? You mean?
Yeah, how important has that been kind of early on, but now, like you say, up until now?
Hugely, because you know, as I said, I didn't have the best start in life. So, and usually when that happens, you carry those things that you felt as a kid into your adult life. And for me, that manifested itself into panic attacks, which I've been quite open about. Sure. Anxiety is something that I've struggled with. It's a very common thing today because it's just the kind of generation, the sort of time that we're in. There's so much information and a lot of things that can stress us out and make us feel a little bit under pressure. And music, yeah, I'm lucky that I have the ability to, or have the outlet to just dump all of the anxiety into my music and be creative and put pen to paper, as you say, and cipher through the things that are confusing. So yeah, I mean, music is, it's you know, it's huge, it's massive.
Early on, what was the first song that you were really proud of that you wrote?
Good question. I wrote a song, I think the first song I wrote that I felt like was a legit song was a song called Grey Skies. And it was just your typical like Oasis chords, G, C9, D, E minor, you know, those kind of like, those chords that everybody learns when they first start playing music. And I think the chorus was just, I felt like it was quite profound. It was like talking about the grey skies and how like I wish I felt like a burden to people or something. I was the grey sky. I don't know. It had some deep metaphorical meaning, and I was like, that's my first real song, and I was proud to play that to people. So yeah, I think that's probably it.
And what age was this?
That was probably around 14, 15.
Okay.
Yeah, probably around 14, 15.
Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard you talk about this new album, You, and one of the things you said about it is that you had written a couple of songs. They weren't really in the line of what was what was
Yeah.
working. So you went back to also a part of the type of songs you written when you were 18.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reconnecting, or that around that time, 17, 18, where was your mind in terms of writing songs, and what were you looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, so when I was that age, everything I did was just very raw, and I don't just mean like because I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was but just because I was expressing myself in a very authentic way, and I wasn't thinking about technique vocally, I wasn't thinking about structure. It was just a pure stream of consciousness, and it was just very raw. And I feel like I started writing this new album, and I really didn't want it to be like the last album, in the sense that the last album was a collection of songs where the approach for writing those songs was, I need to get this comeback song, because I was very much in the darkness. I was out of favor. So this album became this very like personal redemption album, you know, very autobiographical, and it was like, I'm going through this, I need to get back to where I want to be. So, and they were all kind of like trying to be a single. So it didn't feel to me like a coherent body of work conceptually in the way that this new one does. So I started doing the kind of obligatory tour of amazing producers and songwriters, and I got a few great songs out of it, but it just felt a bit like I'm on that same track again, where I'm trying to find this hit song, and I don't want to be here. I want to be back at home playing my acoustic guitar and tapping into that 18-year-old self, where it was just like, right, what's going on in my life, or what am I inspired by, and how would I do it, and not about like how anyone else would want to do it. And I came up with like, you know, a bunch of songs that have made the album and make the core of the album. And if you're sort of a hardcore fan of me, you'll recognize that they resemble those old kind of songs, you know.
Sure. This idea of needing a hit, or I can imagine that added a lot of pressure. Even I'm not sure if it's still here then now, but early on in this writing kind of cycle. What is it like? Because you're in a unique position, you're a public figure, people will have things to say about you. What is it like then having to come up with another piece of art and then, like you say, kind of trying to gain people's favor again?
It's a struggle. It's a struggle. I've got to admit, especially because I've had like a few successful songs.
Sure.
But there's one or two songs that are just by far and away. You know, like Say Won't Let Go has over 1 billion streams, which is, you know, that could have been my peak. I might have peaked already. You know, it's gonna be very difficult to recreate that level of success with one particular song. And for a little while there, that's what I was trying to do. I was getting back in the studio, and I think, you know, I was trying to recreate that. And that's also what the label would want, and what, you know, you just feel like, right, that's my level now. That's what I got to be. But it's an unrealistic goal. I'm super ambitious, and I want that for every song that I release. But I kind of I snapped out of that because I released a couple of songs and they didn't do as well. And it was getting me down a little bit, and I was like, well, I need to change my mindset. And I just focused on making, like I said, a body of work that had a concept, and you could sit down and listen to this whole thing and just get like a real authentic sense of what it is that I'm offering you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm just it is a pressure sometimes, but also I don't have anything. I don't think I have much to prove anymore. I think I've proved I can write a love song. I don't need to do that again. You know, I definitely don't need to write another love song, because I think the one that I've written is going to be part of weddings probably for the rest of my life. I'm seeing weddings all the time on my social media. We got married to your song, so I don't think I can really achieve much more than that with a love ballad. So yeah, I'm going to now just kind of keep trying to reinvent myself and show people different sides of you know, I've got a lot of influences, hip hop, rock. I come from rock bands, so yeah, I want to show people all of that stuff as well.
Well, let me jump into the album then, because there's one song for me that stuck out. Marine Parade is one that I felt, and then, like you say, that's more of a soul influence. There's all different kinds of things. So we don't have to talk specifically about that song, but with songs like that, where do you start them? Because like you say, I have all these other interests, other influences, so let's do something with that.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that song in particular is it was actually made in 2013.
Okay.
And that's what, so the vocals on that record are like 5 years old.
Okay.
And the reason it hasn't made any other record until now is because the sample on it is like a huge sample. It's a massive sample. I couldn't afford it before. So.
Fair enough.
And I was never going to release the song until I could clear that sample. And I've been wanting to put that song up for a long time. I think it shows like the soulful influences that I have, like you say. And it was very important for me to sort of thread those little surprises around this album. Like Breathe is kind of a jazzy kind of a song. And you've got You, which is kind of quite rocky, and then I drop a 16-bar rap in that one, which, you know, reminds people that that's what I do as well. Like, it's a big part of my artistry is that I do rap as well. Yeah, man, there's a few little surprises littered around the album. I thought
well, one thing about this always is, in terms of artists, is you want to keep your identity, but also not do the same album over and over again. So how do you balance those two worlds? Like you say, the acoustic, more ballady songs, but then...
It's an interesting thought, because I was talking to this with someone else earlier, and it was kind of that, like, what's good about being a solo artist as opposed to me being in a band, which is where I started out, and which is where I thought I would make it. I thought I was going to be the front man of a band. I was going to play rock music, and it was going to be a little bit soulful, but ultimately it was all guitar-based music, like electric guitar-based music. And I suppose the beauty of being a solo artist is that you know, you haven't got four other people that, like, if you want to do some hip-hop or you want to do some R&B, like, they're not going to go, yeah, man, but where's the guitars, or where's this? Or I never want to just be one thing, you know, so yeah, I just never want to be one thing. I want to be versatile, and I don't think any of my albums have ever been one thing. You know, they've always kind of had a bit of diversity to them. But having said that, I would love to just do a strictly rock album, and I would love to do a strictly rap album as well, or merge the two, and really focus on like a passion project like that. Like, this is my rock effort, you know, or this is my rap effort, or my soul effort, or whatever. Like,
well, with that in mind, then, can you see yourself going on stage with a full band and kind of having that band thing?
Well, I mean, that's how we present. That's how I present myself in my shows. It's always with a full band. It's always like, and we act like, you know, I treat the guys in my band as though, you know, they are also James Arthur. They're representing me. We're a movement, and I've had the same guys for a long time now. So yeah, I feel like I'm in a band.
Okay, but, that's good.
Yeah, man.
And like you said about Back from the Edge, it's more inwardly, very much searching inside yourself. And then with this album, you wanted to be inspired a little bit more by other people's stories.
Yeah, not only that, but I want it to invoke, I want it to make people look introspectively, and I think the lyrics are sort of deliberately designed to make you feel like the song belongs to you, and you can definitely interpret it. It's not to say that it's vague, because I definitely put some details in there of my own life, but I try and open it up as much as I can to interpretation, and that's why it's called You. And I also use the word you an awful lot on this record, so that helps with the concept.
That title track, when in the process did it kind of float to the top?
The what, sorry?
The title track, You.
The title track, luckily it was like halfway through. Like I wasn't like going into sessions like, I need to write the song You. But I got to the end of the chorus and I went, there's nothing wrong with being you. And then the sample sounded like it was saying you, so we tried to make it sound like you. And I was like, well, there it is. There's the title track. Yeah.
And because of I've wrote down lyrics here and there, but specifically with you, I wrote down nothing wrong with being you as well. That sentiment, where did that come from? Is that something you've always held, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was, it's going to sound corny, but I think it was like, because I'm getting older and like the insecurities are slowly fading away. You know, it's something that happens, I guess, when you grow up. You stop giving a shit about what people think as much. You know, obviously you don't want to be an arrogant person, but you know, I definitely don't care as much about what people think, and that was a problem for me before. You know, I definitely was seeking validation from other people more than I should. It was unhealthy, and yeah, I think that sentiment was just like, you know, I think it's really powerful to say there's nothing wrong with being you, and it was one of them, like, you know, when you're writing songs, like sometimes the line just comes to you. It's not a massively profound line, but it fit like a puzzle piece just at the end of the chorus, and I was like, yeah, that's it. That's, you know, and it summed up the song and it summed up the album. So that was it.
And like you say, in terms of kind of making a cohesive whole, because I wrote something down from the song "Fall," which is "Sometimes I Want to Fall." There's kind of the maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but the allowing yourself to fail at times and not always. Yeah,
it's surrendering. It's about surrender. It's an extension of that concept of like, it's okay not to be okay. It's fine to be you. It's self-acceptance. It's all of that stuff. It's like it's like sometimes you just want to fall flat on your face, and that's fine. Surrender to the stuff. Same with Treehouse. Is like, you know, just forget about the world and we'll go and smoke a J or whatever. I don't know, wherever your safe place is or your happy place is, it's fine to just go there sometimes. Like, the world moves fast enough as it is. And yeah, Fall, like, I felt like it could be a song for a mental health organization or something, like, and it might push that sentiment of it being okay not to be, you know, not to feel right.
And with what you just said in mind, then, because you also said, well, you're quite ambitious. So, how do you see success these days? How do you, for instance, with this album, when for you will this album be a success?
I think success is measured by you. I think you should measure the success. You should set yourself goals. I mean, my last album was #1. I think this album's a lot better than the last album, so I think it should be #1. And but if it wasn't #1, I don't think it would be because it's not good enough. I think it'd be probably because Post Malone dropped his album the week before or something. So you have to take those things into consideration. Do I want Grammys and Brit Awards and accolades? Yeah, 100%. I'm hungry for all that. I think I deserve all that. But I keep my goals realistic, and you know, I now measure my success. It's funny, I've made a drastic change in mindset. It's like my mindset used to be, I have to get this, I have to get that. And then when things didn't go my way, I got really pissed off with myself. And sometimes you can't control that, so yeah, man.
There's one thing, and I didn't really want to talk about this, but it kind of fits, I suppose, because about Glastonbury, you feeling that you definitely want to play there, and you're kind of feeling being snubbed a little bit.
Yeah.
With that in mind, what is your sense of the music industry in those respects? Are there kind of boundaries for artists? And
for me, I think it's a good question. Like I said, I'm still in the mindset of that guy who's in bands and rock bands, so and like being a front man. So in my head, I've done the graveyard shifts. I've done the sort of gigs to 2 men and a dog, and travelled around the UK with a band, and feel as though I belong up there at Glastonbury. I've paid my dues. I've represented the UK around the world, but I do forget that X Factor tag will follow me, and certain people look at that like it means that you're manufactured in some way, when actually it's a lot harder to make it through a show like that and maintain a career and have longevity. I mean, there's nobody from the show that still exists today and is still, you know, making, you know, I don't know, who's still on the radio, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I think there is. I mean, there's definitely a snobbery attached to those things, and that's fine. You know, I just have to keep doing what I do, and be. I'm safe in the knowledge that I know there isn't another male singer-songwriter on the planet that can do what I can do, and you know, I don't need them to validate that for me.
All right.
Cool, man.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.